In today's show, we'll talk about the shorthanded Blazers losing at home to the Los Angeles Clippers, Damian Lillard's reported frustrations with the team, and then his frustrations with the reported frustrations with the team. And we'll talk about managing expectations in a new world for the Portland Trail Blazers. Welcome to Locked On Blazers. Let's get into it.
You are Locked On Trail Blazers, your daily Portland Trail Blazers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What up, world? It's your past first point guard and Trailblazer reporter Mike Richmond. You're listening to another episode of Locked On Blazers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, available wherever you get podcasts and now also on YouTube. We've been on YouTube for 2 months, a little more than 2 months, I think. We just passed the 2-month mark. We're trying to get to 2,000 by 2022, 2,000 by New Year's. And we're up over 1,400, so we need another 600 of y'all to jump on board. So if you're listening in the podcast feed, please go ahead and subscribe. If you're a new listener, hop on, go over to YouTube right now and make it happen. If you're watching on YouTube and maybe just listening to the show for the first time, give it a chance. Subscribe to the show. It won't hurt. It's 5 days a week. We post a new an episode every single week. It's the only daily Trailblazers podcast. So join us. Help me get to my goal of 2,000 by New Year's. I would truly appreciate it. In today's show, we're talking about the Blazers' loss to the Los Angeles Clippers. They lost 102-90 on Monday evening at the Moda Center. I was in the building to see a team without Damian Lillard, without CJ McCollum, without Anfernee Simons, without Nassir Little, and then without Ben McLemore in the second half. Play pretty well. We'll talk about them playing pretty well and sort of the new world of expectations. There's also some reporting from The Athletic that Damian Lillard is maybe frustrated with with the situation. We'll talk about both that reporting and then his frustrations about someone reporting his frustrations. These MFs love drama, as Damian Lillard says. So that we got a fun show for you today. So a whole bunch to talk about. Let's get into it by doing what we do at this time. Our fastest recap in the West. Blazers lose 102-90, but they were in this one. They were up 27-26 after one. Norman Powell had 12 points in the first quarter. They were rolling. Jusuf Nurkic had a big first quarter, but had to leave a little bit early with foul trouble. Blazers were only down one at halftime, 49-48, and Norm had 18 at the break, and Nurk had 14. This was going to be a monster night from Jusuf Nurkic. And the Blazers, there was no second half collapse. You know, they have shown, even in the embarrassing loss to the Celtics, like the Blazers were in the game at halftime, and they just left the building basically in the second half. They didn't leave. They did not. There was no meltdown. They were just down 77-74 after 3. They lost a third quarter by 2. They were in the game. Excuse me, lost the third quarter by 4, but they were in the game. And then it really fell apart in the last 3 minutes. They're right there. They're right there. An undermanned team that started Dennis Smith Jr., Norman Powell, Tony Snell, Robert Covington, and Jusuf Nurkic was in the game with 3.5 minutes left. Norman Powell drives down the paint, kicks to Larry Nance in the far corner, in the right corner, and Nance misses a wide open 3 that would have given Blazers a 1-point lead. Instead, they come the other way. Paul George beats his man for a dunk inside, 2 hands with a little pull-up, and the Clippers go up 4. The Blazers take a timeout knowing, okay, here we go. We're at the 3-minute mark. We're down 4, big possession, and they turn it over coming out of the timeout, trying to force feed Norm coming off a double screen on the baseline. Dennis Smith Jr. just throws it away as Norman Powell slips down. DJ probably shouldn't have thrown the ball, or DSJ probably shouldn't have thrown the ball, and you should probably never fall down. That's never a good idea. But, you know, Norm slips. They turn the ball over. 4-point game. They don't get a shot off. PG comes down and hits a tough 18-foot pull-up. And Jusuf Nurkic called for a flagrant foul while the shot is in the air. He elbowed Isaiah Hartenstein in the face on the shot. Gets a flagrant foul on review. So it's a 3-point play. All of a sudden, the Blazers are down 95-88. It's a 7-point game. And the Clippers get the ball back because of the loose ball flagrant situation. And they get a dunk on the out-of-bounds play. And it's a 9-point game. And that's it. Like, you know, the flagrant foul possession was a big one because it turned out to be basically a 5-point possession. But they were right there. They were right there, and they end up. That's where the game slipped away in that sort of 3 minute to 90-second mark, like 90 seconds where they just weren't. They weren't. They ran out of talent. That's your fastest recap in the West, 102-90. Jusuf Nurkic, monster game, 31 points, 5 boards, 12 of 19 from the floor. Started better than that, kind of, they just force-fed him a bunch, and he was really beaten up on the Clippers centers. In an earlier meeting, the first meeting this year with the Clippers, Jusuf Nurkic got punked by Zubac and Hartenstein. He punked them tonight. Zubac had no answer. Hartenstein didn't have an answer till late. They even gave Serge Ibaka a little chance on Nurk, and Nurk scored on him too. Like this was Nurk. I don't know. I don't think you're going to get 31 out of Nurk every night because he probably lead league in scoring. But this was, a team that needed offense and needed shots. They just gave him the ball where he wanted on the right block, a whole bunch, and let him go to work. And early on, it really worked. At the end, like I said, he got blocked a couple times, and then they started sending double teams. And I don't, just with the other sort of options and Nurk's determination, there was some bad decisions out of those double teams and out of those late post ups. But Nurk was awesome in this game. This was he was really, really, really good. Norman Powell, soaked up a whole bunch of offense and had to sort of got 24 shots up because in some ways, just because they need him to, there was maybe a couple just like wild drives that Norm didn't need, but for the most part, like they just needed him to shoot because they didn't have enough offense. He finished with 29 points and 5 boards. Brutal night from the Blazers starting forwards. Tony Snell, he's Tony Snell, like he's not going to give you a bunch, and he didn't. And Robert Covington, 0 for 5 from 3, 1 for 8 from the floor. Did have 10 boards, 3 steals, and 2 blocks. And like I think he had some positive moments on defense, to be sure. And I don't think this was a night where Rocco looked like he was like totally out of sorts on defense. He's certainly he's had those. This wasn't that. It was just a straight up bad offensive night. Didn't get much from the bench. 11 total points, 4 from Nance, 4 from Zeller, and 3 from CJ Ellaby, who in his first shift looked absolutely out of his depth, and then came in and was kind of fine in a second shift. Played much much better in that second half. Still not very good. He's not. You wouldn't want him in the rotation if you didn't have to. But when Ben McLemore, who played 8 minutes in the first half and didn't return after halftime with a left hip, they were calling it just like a left hip soreness. Did not return. You had to go Ellaby. You just had to. Those were your 8 guys, and basically they played 7 for real. Norm played 44 minutes. Whew, that's too much. Paul George did not play well, but hit some big shots down the stretch. Really big ones in the final 3 minutes. Finished with 21. And the Clippers also got 15 from Luke Kennard in his first start, 13 from Brandon Boston Jr. off the bench, and 17 from Marcus Morris Sr., who missed. He made 3 of 8 threes, but his 5 misses were so gross that it didn't feel like he had a good game. My real takeaway from this, the Blazers played pretty well. Like, all things considered, considering who they didn't have. No Dame, no CJ, no Nas, no Ant. Like, with the group they had, they played pretty well. I talked about this with someone, I'll call them Rexy. Rexy asked, like, coming into the night, did you think the Blazers were going to win? I said, no. I gave them like a 7% chance to win when I showed up at the arena. And then by halftime, I had said like, yeah, they've got something like a 35% chance to win this game. They don't have enough talent, but like they played well, and they didn't, I expected them to have a good first quarter and then kind of just go away quietly like they had the last couple of games, but they hung with it. They hung with it until the last 3 minutes, and they didn't lose this game because of lack of effort. They didn't lose this game. They lost this game because the other team's best player made shots at the end of the game. Like they lost this game because they missed a wide open 3 and they turned the ball over and committed a flagrant foul. Like it happened. And it's a talent league, right? Like at the end of the game, the Clippers, whose offense was also a total slog on this one, gave the ball to their best player and said, save us. And Paul George saved us. And the Blazers were giving the ball to Nurk in the post and Norman Powell. And it's just like a different level of talent. But I would say like, I came away from this game and not feeling good, but I would say it was heartening. It was a heartening game. Like you felt like, okay, this team hasn't totally quit. They're not going to just go away. They're capable of like committing to a plan. They're capable of playing hard. They're capable of being scrappy on a night where like they just didn't have enough good offensive players out there, and then went 5 of 22 from 3 because Tony Snell and Robert Covington, 2 dudes who are just supposed to be basically 3-point specialists, went 0 for 7. And Norm went 2 for 8 with a whole bunch of attention and a couple of dicey decisions one from the corner. It was just a dicey decision to pull. Yeah, I came away a little heartened with the effort that they played with, and with just, I thought they were kind of going to get going to get smoked in this game. And they didn't get smoked. They didn't go away. They didn't, after what we'd seen the last two games, I think I expected them to kind of show us fake heart, fake hustle for 12 minutes and then quit. And they gave us 48 minutes of real competitive basketball. Now, they also have now lost 3 consecutive home games. They're 11-14. They're slipping down the standings. Like, it's not all good. But, like, this game was, if you were like grasping for positives, it was right there in front of you. You could see it right there. Like, they got clowned off the floor on Saturday night, and they came back and responded in a nice way. At some point, they're going to need to win some games. We're going to talk about that at the close of the show. But, like, today, leaving the arena, I felt like, yeah, good for the Blazers. Like, good to show some heart. Like I said, heartening because they showed some heart. This was a nice little loss. Do I even think that? I don't know. I kind of walked myself into that phrase, but I'm not sure I believe it. What I believe is that this could have gone a lot worse and it didn't. And if you want to feel good about them not having a horrific night, you should, because you need it, dear listener. You're listening to this particular episode, considering the state of the world, like, you need to feel good about this team. And I think it's okay to say after this game, like, good job, boys. Hope you win soon. Let's talk about the news today. The Athletic published a report early this morning, early on Monday morning, that kind of inside Neil Olshey's getting fired and what's going on with the team. And it includes some little nuggets about Damian Lillard that then Damian Lillard maybe objected to on Twitter. So let's talk about the nuggets. Let's talk about the objections. Let's talk about all of that in the second segment. But first, let me tell you about Truebill. Listen, it can be difficult to cancel subscriptions because companies make it intentionally difficult to do so. And Truebill is the new app that helps you identify and stop paying for subscriptions you don't need, you don't want, or you simply forgot about. Listen, like I said, companies make subscriptions hard to cancel, and Truebill makes it incredibly simple. You just link your accounts, and Truebill will cancel your unwanted subscriptions in one tap. And your Truebill concierge is there when you need them to cancel unwanted subscriptions, so you don't have to. It's a service you're paying for. If it's one tap, it's literally right there in the app. And if it's more than one tap, you're paying for someone to figure out how to get rid of those subscriptions. I've used it just to kind of quickly get a look at all the subscriptions I had. It took less than 10 minutes from downloading the app to signing up to having my eyeballs on all my subscriptions to kind of see what I wanted to cancel, what I wanted to keep, or just what I had there. Truebill made it quick, made it easy, and I think it could work for you. Truebill has already worked for over 2 million users and helped them save over $100 million. So if you want to save some money or at least get a kind of sense of what your subscriptions are, it is an easy way to do it. So don't fall for subscription scams. Start canceling today at truebill.com/lockedonnba. Go right now, truebill.com/lockedonnba. It could save you thousands a year. truebill.com/lockedonnba. Today's show is also brought to you by Theragun. Listen, I don't want you to let the stress of daily life get you down and weigh on your body. Whether you're an elite athlete like me or someone just trying to make it through the day tension-free, Theragun can help you. Theragun is the handheld percussive therapy device that releases your deepest muscle tension using a scientifically calibrated combo of depth, speed, and power. And it's as quiet as an electric toothbrush. The Gen 4 Theragun doesn't just feel good, it gets to the source of pain by releasing tension using Theragun's signature percussive therapy, which goes 60% deeper than vibration alone. Whether you want to treat your muscle tension from working out, an injury, or just the stresses of daily life, there's no substitute for the Theragun Gen 4. Plus, Theragun is trusted by 250 professional sports teams like Real Madrid and athletes like Paul George, who scored 6 points in the final 3 minutes and helped sink the Blazers, probably because he was using that Theragun to stay loose. Plus hundreds of thousands of customers. So if you want to get your body right so you can score down the stretch, try Theragun for 30 days starting at only $199. Go to therabody.com/lockedon right now. Get your Gen 4 Theragun today. That's therabody.com/lockedon. therabody.com/lockedon. All right. So we talked about the Blazers win. They won by only losing by 12. They won by playing right with the team for 45 minutes. The Clippers were scuffling a little bit. Like they've they started 8-4 this season. I believe maybe it was 7-4, but they started really nice. Like they were like really rolling early in the year, and they've been scuffling since then. Like they've really they've kind of started to tumble down the standings their own self. So this was like a night that they needed also to get right. And that's kind of why I thought they might run the Blazers out the gym, because all 29 other teams along with the Blazers are also experiencing their own sort of ups and downs, unless they're the Warriors, and then they only experience ups, and then they lose once every 3 weeks. But like, so I kind of thought the Clippers might boat race the Blazers and just roll in this one. So yeah, the Blazers they won by -12. This is a win by -12. There's a kind of a point, and we might have reached there, where you need to sort of recalibrate your expectations. And I think we've reached a place where like I feel like okay about the Blazers losing another home game that I knew going in they were going to lose. It's a weird place, but that's for the third segment. Here I want to talk about the news. A story today posted on The Athletic's websites bylined by Shams Charania and Sam Amick. They wrote it. They didn't byline it. I don't know where that verb came from. They wrote it, and they were given bylines on the story. And it runs through kind of Neil Olshey getting fired, and a lot of it is just like scene setting stuff. If you listen to this podcast, Neil Olshey threw Terry Stotts under the bus and acted like a dumb dummy in press conferences all summer long, and then got fired for being a jerk, which is like maybe not a fireable offense, but the Blazers found enough evidence to suggest that it was worth firing with cause, and et cetera, et cetera. Stay tuned to see if there is a lawsuit. It certainly, to me, seems like something could be on the table from the Olshey side, but like that's not what we're here to talk about. We're here to talk about a couple specific paragraphs in here where Amick and Charania, where Sam and Shams, we'll call them by both their first names. It's two gentlemen I've met. But they kind of talk about Dame's frustrations. And Dame wanted changes this offseason, and maybe he specifically wanted Jason Kidd to get like a real consideration. Like his two top choices were Chauncey Billups and Jason Kidd didn't even get a sniff because Olshey had decided to hire Chauncey Billups maybe months beforehand. So like he was going to hire him unless someone blew him away, and he wasn't going to let Jason Kidd be the person that blew him away. So there's like some frustration over the coaching situation that reportedly from Dame. There's some frustration over sort of his role, which is from the roster not changing, because Olshey didn't change the roster. Totally reasonable frustrations from Dame. But then it suggests that maybe Damian Lillard is also, or it just doesn't say maybe. It suggests that Damian Lillard is also a little bit frustrated with kind of the way he's been used this season. Some of it is he's just shooting bad. He's having a bad year. He's not physically right. And it's boiled over to just him not getting to the free throw line, him shooting way worse from the field, and him not scoring nearly as much. But it says here, and I'm going to read it for you just so we know what we're talking about. It says, more specifically, Billups' choice to use Lillard in pick and rolls less than Stotts did has been a point of contention. Per Synergy, Lillard's time as the pick and roll ball handler has declined from 46.3% to 39.2%. His points per possessions, those scenarios have dipped significantly as well, from 1.073 to 0.883. The defensive rule changes have clearly impacted Lillard too, as he's on a career low pace in terms of free throw attempts per game. The last part's not important, but the first part is like Dame wants, reportedly, right here, is like Dame wants to do what he does. His comfort zone is running pick and rolls. It was not always the case under Terry Stotts that the Blazers were a pick and roll heavy, pick and roll only team. It kind of devolved into them being that pick and roll heavy, pick and roll only team, right? Like that wasn't always the case, but it eventually got to Dame's comfort zone. And that's why I've kind of pushed back when people say, like, should they run Terry Stotts' offense? It's Dame's comfort zone versus what Billups wants to do. And here it's like Dame wants to play in his comfort zone like any star would, and maybe there's some frustration with that. But also Dame might just be frustrated with this reporting. Dame tweeted this story and tweeted something to the effect of, these MFs love drama so much. MFs means mother, father. So it's... Sorry for laughing at my own stupid joke, but it's late. It's after the game on a Monday evening. But like, I think both of these things to me are easy to believe. That Dame is both frustrated because he wants to play in his comfort zone and he wants to just run a whole bunch of pick and rolls because that's what he's comfortable doing, and that he's also frustrated with either someone airing this out, like maybe his personal business, or he feels like that his frustrations are, I want to play better and I want to like imprint on the game, and like he disagrees with the characterization of this, like that he's frustrated with Billups, right? Like that you're kind of sowing seeds, like Dame mad at coach is kind of like sowing seeds for further bad news down the line. And I think both things can be true. Like I think Dame can, I think like this reporting can be totally spot on, and also Damian Lillard can be mad that either it's being reported or that he maybe like I said, disagrees with like some of the specifics of the reporting, or like that sort of the nature of it. Like, listen, I might be mad at a coach, but people get mad at coaches all the time, like it's a normal part of NBA stuff. I will say that I had been really keen paying attention to sort of Dame's involvement since he's been injured. And I thought the last couple nights that he was just watching him from press row, just kind of peeking at him and particularly in timeouts, like how he reacts as guys come back to the bench, that he didn't seem super engaged. They were also getting waxed. So like maybe he's like, picking his spots when to have a lot of energy. But tonight against the Clippers, way more engaged. There were moments when, when the coaches usually after a timeout, they'll spend 30 seconds talking and then they'll kind of let guys let guys kind of catch their breath and catch their thoughts, and then they'll come in and say their piece at the end of a timeout. Like that's pretty much standard across all NBA teams. In that sort of open moments, Dame like going to talk to Nurk and going to talk to Rocco and talking to Dennis Smith Jr. When CJ Ellaby had a really rough shift in the first half, Dame said something to him as he came back and kind of leaned over on the bench and said something to him again. Like he was much more engaged in this game just from from watching him. So I think I would have like prior to this, like based on sort of just like watching him on the bench the last couple games, like Dame doesn't seem like he's into this right now, but like also he's hurt and bummed and watching his team get smoked. Like it's being bummed about, like being upset about that is normal. That's so like, I wasn't going to read too much into it, but I was like paying very close attention just for my own sort of, personal interest and you, dear listener, because that's what I want to bring you, the view from press row. Something, this is why you come here, because I do have I provide some level of insight, right? So what do you do with this? Like, what do you do with the Athletic information? Keep it in your back pocket. Think about it like this: like any information that leaks for a reason. Why does someone or some entity want this information out there? Not all reporting comes from one side. It can come from, you get multiple people leaking their agendas and you weave them together. That's kind of like the nature of journalism. But like, it's maybe a little simplified version of journalism, but you get it. So like, I think there's a reason this report is out, and I think there's a reason Damian Lillard is frustrated that this information is out there, or this like framing of this information is out there. I think both those things can naturally exist together in one ecosystem. What I want to do to close the show is I want to make you a little bit smarter, because you listen to podcasts for the power of knowledge, and you switch to Boost Mobile for the power of saving money, because with Boost, you get the power of free 5G phones so you can listen to all the latest episodes of this podcast. The power of 3 unlimited data lines for $30 a month so your family can harness all that brain power too. And the power of one of America's largest 5G networks so you can do it all at the speed of 5G. With all that money you'll save and all that knowledge you'll gain, just how powerful will you become? Switch to Boost Mobile and find out. Get a free Samsung Galaxy A32 5G when you switch to one of America's largest 5G networks. More power to save. Boost Mobile. Disclaimer: free phone limited to new customers, 1 per line. Additional restrictions apply. Offers and coverage not available everywhere or for all phones and networks. See boostmobile.com for details. Still a pass first point guard. Still Mike Richmond. You're still listening to Locked On Blazers. So we talked fastest recap in the West. Blazers lose to the Clippers. Played fine. No reason to be super upset about that one. It was it certainly exceeded my expectations. We talked about the Damian Lillard news, or like the reporting around Damian Lillard. Like the Blazers are a mess. their two top executives have left, and they're really beat up injury wise, and they are still have one win on the road. And they've gotten shellacked a couple times this week and on their home floor. Like they're not in a good place. So like Damian Lillard being frustrated seems right to me. Like this news doesn't come as a shock. Also within that story was the idea that Damian Lillard wanted to play with Ben Simmons. I'm not even touching that right now because let's wait. Like we'll talk whole mailbag episode later this week. We'll talk a bunch about Ben Simmons. If Philly was open to trading for CJ McCollum, Ben Simmons would already be on the Blazers roster. That's all I need to say about that one. And Daryl Morey's watching the Blazers melt down. You think he's going to trade Ben now and not wait it out and see if it gets worse? Y'all are wild if you think that. But what I want to do to close the show is not just ramble about Ben Simmons after promising that I wouldn't ramble about Ben Simmons, but that's what you get here. That's what we get here on Late Night Podcast Record. I want to talk about expectations because I do think the game tonight, like I came away like, yeah, fine. Good job. Good, good, nice little effort. I don't, how could you be like, I was fired up after they lost to the Celtics. Like this team stinks. I didn't come away thinking that. I came into the gym a little worried that I was watching a stinky team. And when CJ McCollum was downgraded to from probable to doubtful to out, he didn't even warm up before the game. I was like, oh man, this might not be the best use of my time this evening watching this Blazer game in person. But I came away heartened, like I said. But the Blazers on Wednesday are going to go play Golden State in San Francisco, and they're probably going to get walloped. And it'll be their fourth straight loss. It'll be another road loss. The Warriors are good enough that they might just like really beat the brakes off of the Blazers. They don't care. Like they're not, they will just come out in the third quarter and try to beat every team in the NBA in 9 minutes of just hellacious defense and fast breaking offense and Steph Curry going nuts. And they do most nights. Like they're really good. And I think the Blazers are likely to be, shorthanded. Dame's not going to be reevaluated till after that game. Nassir Little is supposedly going to be reevaluated on Wednesday of like day of that game. He worked out yesterday. He got shots up prior, he got shots up on Sunday, and he got a little pregame warm up early before the Blazers lost to the Celtics. He was out on the court, and then he played. Just like jumped around a little bit. But Billups said that he was sore when he woke up this morning and got to the facility, and so it was just like maybe not a setback, but he was maybe ahead of schedule, they thought, and he was actually listed as questionable for this game when he wasn't even supposed to be. He was supposed to be out at least through the Warriors game, most likely. So like he was kind of ahead of schedule, and then he tested out the ankle, and he's like, yeah, not ready. That's why like reevaluate is kind of a nonsense word. It's like, don't ask about it. It's like a professional sports team. They're evaluating everyone all the time. But like the Blazers are going to be shorthanded likely still. Probably no Anfernee Simons. Probably no Nassir Little. Certainly no Dame. We'll see on CJ with his rib contusion. We'll see on Ben McLemore with his hip injury. Did not get an update on McLemore after the game. So like I think the Blazers are going to get drilled in that game. And so I want to talk about sort of like resetting expectations. I do not think the Blazers are like bottom of the West bad, because that's like a special rung of like truly bad teams. But they're trending much closer towards like that 11 range out of the play-in than they are to like fourth, which if like 500 is fourth in the West basically right now. So like, I just want to say like the way that like, don't freak out is basically what I'm trying to say in so many words if they lose to the Warriors. The times, like, I had circled this stretch, like, prior to the Warriors game as, like, a bunch of winnable games and, like, reason for optimism because the Pistons stink and the Spurs weren't very good and, like, the Celtics have kind of struggled and the Clippers have been scuffling. It's like, these are 4 winnable games back home. That was my sort of reasons for optimism before I knew Dame wasn't going to play. And then even after Dame ruled out, I was like, these are winnable games. Like, I don't think these teams are, like, way, way better than even the shorthanded Blazers. It's like pre-CJ injury and all that stuff. So I'll say this. I was wrong. Those reasons for optimism were false. And I ended up coming away with this week thinking like the Blazers are like a small, not quite raging dumpster fire, but like there are flames in the dumpster currently, and you can see them. They just aren't like climbing up the wall just yet. The Clippers game gave me a little more reason to try to put out the fire and believe a little bit this team can still get there whenever they get healthy. But like, I don't think the Warriors game is a good barometer in any way for like where they're at. Like, they get shellacked, keep them moving. They play 4 more home games after that. They're back for another 4 against like pretty good teams, Minnesota and Charlotte in there too. Like, it's I think that homestand is more telling. So like, I guess I'm calling for patience. This is like a classic thing I feel like I do when the Blazers struggle, is I say, please, dear listener, be patient with them. But I really do mean it. They get some time off after that Blazer game, or after that Warriors game. Like, they get a real break. So they'll have, that's Wednesday night. They don't play Thursday, Friday, or Saturday. They come back Sunday at home against Minnesota, Tuesday against Phoenix, Wednesday against Memphis, and Friday they play the Charlotte Hornets. Memphis has won 5 in a row and has not trailed in any of those 5 games without John Morant. Whoa. So like, let's just like throw Wednesday night out, and like, we'll all agree here. I'm still gonna have a bunch of podcasts this week, so this is Tuesday's show, so you have 3 more shows. We'll do a mailbag and we'll have Jason Quick in here, but like, let's all agree that whatever happens, and when the Blazers lose by 22 against the Warriors and it's like non-competitive, that we all knew it was going to come, and that we'll worry Memphis, we'll worry at the homestand, like Minnesota, Phoenix, Memphis, Charlotte. We'll worry at those games because those will be more telling and more meaningful to sort of like where they're at in terms of Lillard's health and Ant's health and Naz's health and CJ's health. Like, get them back full strength. I know this was like, they were supposed to be 15-10 right now, and like, you're supposed to be feeling okay about them. They're not that. So like, recalibrate those expectations. They're going to be some games below 500. They're going to be 4 games below 500 when you wake up Thursday morning. And so just, there's no reason to freak out this week. They are what they are right now, and they're not very good, but it's not like the season isn't totally over. It's not time to straight up fully tank until you kind of see what they look like when they're at full strength. I'm probably not in the like fully tank rebuild mode period, but I certainly won't be after whatever happens on Wednesday night. So that's my word of caution about recalibrating expectations, and a look ahead to the Golden State game. They're just a really good basketball team. They'll shred you in so many ways. So that is it for today's show. This is going to post in your feeds Tuesday, December 7th. Wednesday's show will be a mailbag show, so send in your questions at Mike G. Rich on Twitter and lockedonblazerspod@gmail.com. Thursday's show, we will recap that Warriors game, and Friday's show, Jason Quick is going to join us. Jason might join us for the Warriors show. It depends on his schedule and what he's doing. So, but one of the last 2 shows of the week, we'll have Jason on here for sure. So make sure you check that one out, and tell your friends to do the same. And go to YouTube right now and subscribe. We're going to get to 2,000 subscribers by New Year's, 2,000 subscribers by 2022. You're going to help. Go subscribe to the show on YouTube. Tell your friends to do it as well. Also available wherever you get podcasts. Just search Locked On Blazers. We'll be there waiting for you. Appreciate you listening. Talk to you soon.